Welcome to the English Premier League Devundling Award Ceremony. Now here are your hosts, Andrew Gundling and JJ Devaney.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you, all you fine people here with us this evening. Andrew Gundling, JJ Devaney, caught offside from the Caught Offside Ballroom. It's the 2023-2024 Premier League Devundlings. What's up, brother?
The 10th annual Devundlings. We were so confident in ourselves that in our very first months, we started in April 2014. So in our very first 6 to 8 weeks, we had an award ceremony for the Premier League called the Devundlings, and it's been an institution ever since. A gala night. We've dressed up, as you can see. I've got Sally Field behind me, looking quite scary, indeed.
She's ready to attack you. Like she's gonna bludgeon you over the head with that.
Like it's like some kind of Japanese Godzilla versus Sally Field scenario, and I'm about to get clocked. But I'm wearing my jacket.
I've already taken mine off. It's too hot. I'm sweating.
I'm roasting, but I would reveal the worst in American tailoring underneath. I'm trying to get a fitted shirt in this country. Good Lord. Incredibly hard. But here we are, and I'm ready to go. Let's get into it.
Yeah, what a night. It's one of my favorite shows that we do every year, where we honor this league and this season that we've spent the last, how many months? 9 months or so? 8 months? Pouring over and watching relentlessly and discussing with all of you guys out there. Now we honor it, and we'll go through. We have all of our awards ready to go. The ballroom is filled with the glitterati of soccer culture. I should say, too, we'll hand out all of our awards, but I like for this to be as interactive as possible. You will disagree, inevitably, with a lot of the things that JJ and I are about to say over the course of the next hour or so.
But honestly, who cares?
Well,
it's fun.
I care, and I want to hear what all of you guys think, who you would have instead of who we hand out for many of our awards. And also, as a nice little intermission during the award ceremony, we'll go back and revisit all of our season predictions, some of which were great, some of which were disastrous. You had one. Your golden boot is just shocking. I can't wait to go back.
It's not that shocking, though.
It's just awful.
It was a caveat with it. And by the way,
but everyone knew.
Look at the rest of the stuff that I picked. Pretty spot on, actually.
We'll go over. We'll go over it when we get there.
Right.
Let's start, JJ. Let's start now. The first award of tonight's award ceremony, Manager of the Season. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's Anthony Iraola, Bournemouth. He was initially seen as this. How did they land him? Young, sexy acquisition. Quickly cast, probably by November, as a misstep after a really slow start.
Yeah.
By the end of the season, he'd eclipsed Eddie Howe's best points effort at Bournemouth. If the modern measure of a manager isn't signings, but how he improves the players he's been given on arrival, then please see Solanke, Dominic. Manager of the season for me without a question.
Yeah, hard to argue. Not my choice, but wouldn't argue it.
They're quite easy to argue that.
I went in a different direction. I can already hear the stunned noises being made as I announced Sean Dyche as my manager of the season. We had this team marked for death. And you watch, like 2 seasons ago, they barely survived, 39 points. Last season, regressed to 36 points. But this year, their safety has pretty much been assured for really the better part of the last, what would you say, 2 months or so?
Yeah, it's despite the best efforts of the Premier League.
So, yeah, their 40-point total won't wow anyone. But that's not the number. That's really not the number that I'm operating off of when I'm trying to come up with my idea of the job that Dyche did. 48 is really the point number that I think you have to look at when you factor out the 2 separate point deductions. 48 points with a -11 goal difference, JJ, would have been good enough for 12th in the table, tied on points with Brighton and Bournemouth. And he did this with the club's marquee signing up front being a player who started only 9 games, came off the bench in 21 more, and contributed 3 goals. And that was Beto. 3 goals in 30 appearances. And look, Dyche, he may have a certain style that lowers the ceiling just a bit. But like it hasn't gotten in the way of developing young stars. I mean, Jared Branthwaite, James Garner. So I don't know if the arrow is pointed up on Everton, but Dyche was tasked essentially with keeping them up amidst horrible financial woes, point deductions, ownership uncertainty, bargain basement shopping. I mean, Ashley Young has started like a ton of games this season for Everton, and he's done
Incredible.
more, Deitch has, than just keeping them up for the time being. He's actually stabilized them in the mid-table. That's a job well done. So Sean Deitch, manager of the season for me.
I don't hate it. I really
Okay.
don't. And for whatever Dyche is, I do kind of like the guy. So
Yeah. Yeah. So do I. All right. So that's manager of the season. Let's go now, JJ, to the signing of the season.
oh, may I begin?
Sure.
Uh, Adam Wharton. Rare that a January signing works out like this, but man, £22 million sterling for a championship midfielder from Blackburn who comes in and transforms the midfield, taking to the top flight with ease. I mean, based on this form, he's in Gareth Southgate's provisional squad.
Yeah.
Who's to say he doesn't go to Germany? A mood changer for Palace. Consider this worthy banner from January after a 5-0 thumping at Arsenal. This is what the Palace fans held up. Wasted potential on and off the pitch, weak decisions, taking us backwards. Ever since then, they've gone nothing but forwards in remarkably quick time with remarkably good football. And Wharton's been central to that. Just the contrast. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant to come from the Championship, spend half a season in the Premier League on your way to Germany with England. That is no joke.
It's hard for a January signing to win this award. Did Bruno Fernandes, did he win it for us?
He might have won it for you, but I think I would have pushed against that one at the time. No, Wharton for me. A rare, very rare inclusion.
Yeah.
I have gone rogue before and done someone from January from the previous season, claimed that they hardly played between January and May and consider them a new signing. I have bent the rules before, but this is my first January signing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that was controversial. I remember when you did that.
That's who I am.
Yeah. My signing of the season, look, I love your choice. And Crystal Palace, I can't stop talking about them and showing love to them for how they've played over the last few months. But for me, signing of the season, a lot of these, I don't know that there's a right answer. There's a few right answers. For me, this one, there's a right answer. There's a definitive correct answer. And I believe that answer is Cole Palmer.
Okay.
On transfer, when they made this transfer, it felt like a lot of money. £40 million for a player with a pretty limited sample size. Yet another Bowley impulse buy. But here we are, 22 goals, 11 assists later. He's just turned 22. I think you'd have to look at that £40 million number and think of it as one of the bargains of the season. I mean, Chelsea, let's say that Cole Palmer just did what he did for another team and Chelsea were in the market to get him now this summer. I mean, what are we talking? Double that? Triple?
Yeah.
Triple maybe? Like you could get up to like 110.
Not in this market.
Oh.
No.
He wanted out of Man City because he wanted to go someplace where he could showcase his ability. And now, several months later, he's a shoo-in to make the England squad. Might even be a starter in it. So he bet on himself. It worked. And he is the future for a club that is in desperate need of some young talent to move them into the right direction. So Cole Palmer at £40 million felt like a lot. Bargain. Huge bargain for the player that he projects to be. He's my signing of the season.
Agree. I like that one. But I wanted to save Cole for later.
Oh, interesting. Let's go from that to the obvious juxtaposition, the worst signing of the season. And I'll go first if that's okay with you, JJ.
Well, I'll permit it. I'll permit it only because Megan Fox is giving me eyes from across the room.
Oh, interesting.
So allow me to make eyes back at her.
You do that. My worst signing of the season, JJ, it's Mason Mount. And I sometimes feel bad when the player that I select for this category has a good chunk of their season undone by injury, because it's not really their fault.
But it all adds up.
But in this case, like Mount, he cost just enough at £55 million and was healthy just enough for me to feel fine in making this selection. In all competitions this year, he started 8 and appeared in 19 total. And he contributed 1 goal and 1 assist. £55 million. It was risky in the moment. Mount was coming off a bad year at Chelsea, only had 3 goals and 2 assists last season. So I don't know. It's not clear where he fits or if he'll ever have a perfect fit on this United side, as long as Bruno Fernandes is there kind of playing in the position that Mount may be best suited for. So I don't know. Like it was kind of an eyebrow raising signing when they made it, and everything that's happened in the time since has only made it look that much worse. 55 million, one
Oh,
goal, one assist. That's the worst signing of the season.
that's shocking. Um, again, you've used injuries as a mitigating factor and making you feel bad. This should make me feel bad, but it doesn't. Sandro Tonali,
Oh,
consider the fee, a reported 70 million, the most expensive Italian of all time. That really threw me back. That was crazy, but it is true. Consider the injuries Newcastle had to negotiate all season in his absence. Banned for 10 months. Season over on October 26th for illegal gambling. Now, here's the part that makes him a really terrible signing. Not that he's not good enough, but that he had been under investigation for some time by Italian authorities. How how is the due diligence not done by Newcastle? A failure of due diligence, a costly one. Um, who knows? He started brightly enough, wasn't perfect, but started brightly enough
mm-hmm.
for Newcastle. And a team like them, considering the pressure they're going to come under from PSR because of the nature of their ownership, they can't afford to have so many injuries and have this guy banned for gambling. Crazy stuff. Worst signing by a measure for me.
Yeah, that was. I mean, again, it's tough because it might have been a good signing, but we don't know because it was the.
I just refuse to believe, considering the sieve that the Italian judicial system is, that nobody could got a head up on the could have got a heads up on this or could have got ahead of it. Nobody. Come on.
Yeah, that's a rough one. I wonder of all, Newcastle had so many absences through injury and all that. Of all of them, I wonder if this one was the most damaging. If that one hurt them the most in the Champions League, domestically,
I mean,
you know.
exactly. Like if you're fighting, that's another point. If you're fighting on all fronts, you need to have all characters available, and he
And
just
that was
was.
their big. I mean, that was supposed to be okay. We need to make one huge move here to help us through Europe, and like this was the piece.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, just
that's a bad one.
this is
Yeah.
a new. Our next award is a new one,
So
and
we've added. Yeah.
it's usually disparaging.
Do you think?
So we don't come from a culture of most improved player
Yeah.
because it instantly says that you were poor in the previous season, and that's not well received. So, for example, in our awards night for the Brooklyn Shamrocks Gaelic Football Club, which is we've had dinner dance awards night going for like 50 years. Never once have we had most improved player. Just wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I can see why you would view it that way. And
It's an
maybe
Amer- it's an
athletes,
Amer- it's quite an American thing.
but I don't know that when players win it, I don't know that they see it as an insult. Like I hear what you're saying. Um, there is this implication that but I don't know. It can be seen as like you put in the work. Like look what you did to get yourself to the next level. Like this
Absolutely.
was an impressive feat.
And if you're in baseball, you're amongst ex elite players in the game. So if you're saying you're the most improved, it means you've gone up a notch amongst the elite. But I think it's just from youth sports and stuff like that where we're like, no, this is bad.
Well,
It just has bad connotations.
like Tyrese
Anyway,
Maxey just won it in the NBA,
right.
and like he was really good.
Yeah, but again, but
But now he's an all-star and he's like established himself as like in that next upper in like the next tier up.
I exactly. So I guess I'm taking it from a youth
You're
sport.
assuming that only guys who were crap are eligible for this, and that's
It,
not true.
do you
Good
know what?
players who become great, I
Do you
think,
know what?
are
You've
eligible.
sold me on this award, and I'm very happy with my selection.
So let's hear it.
Mateus Cunha,
Hmm.
Wolverhampton Wanderers. Um, this is the stats from this season: 32 appearances, 12 goals, 7 assists. And whenever you saw Wolves come up against the big boys, he was the kind of outstanding player. I remember early in the season him ripping United apart at Old Trafford, and it was kind of awful that they didn't come out with something from that game. Um, and where's the improvement from? Well, 2 goals in 17 the previous season. Um, he's versatile enough, can play on the left, right, down the center. Technically, really, really good. That is improved, serious improvement in a team that couldn't afford him not to be better than the season before.
Sure. All right, that's a good one. I like mine, JJ. Dominic Solanke is who I went with. Ready for
Mm.
this? 1-0-3-6. Those were Dominic Solanke's goal totals in his other Premier League seasons, where he's made at least 10 appearances in a season. 1 goal, 0, 3, and 6. This year, 19.
That's amazing.
Now, I mean, this is the definition of improved.
So let me tell you, nobody shed a tear. When Liverpool got rid of Solanke, there was a sense that they'd done a number, that they'd kind of pulled a fast one to get any kind of anything close to the money they got from him.
Yeah. And now, yeah. And look, he had an amazing season in the championship 2 years ago, but then
he was branded as a championship striker.
Right. And because then the next year they came back up to the Premier League and he did virtually nothing. So, this was pointed out at Opta Analyst a few weeks ago. They wrote, he's contributed goals at key times, and plenty of Bournemouth's games have been tight affairs settled by the odd goal. That has meant Solanke's have been incredibly valuable. Take his goals away from Bournemouth this season, and they would have 15 fewer points. His goals have been worth more points than any other player in the Premier League this season. Huge step up from whatever we thought of him. I mean, JJ, there were moments this season around the January transfer window where we're like, I don't know, can Arsenal afford him right now? Like, like who would have ever thought when the season started we'd be having those conversations?
And the conversations really were around how good Iraola has worked on him in terms of positioning. Just that little thing.
Look at you, just finding a way to boost up your manager of the season.
But it's not a coincidence, Andrew. It just isn't. Like, I still believe in coaching.
As do I. Now, I want to ask you this. So who scored? I've got a lot of time for them, their match ratings and stuff. I find it it's informative to me.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a list out earlier today,
right,
where they showed according to them, who the 10 most improved players were this season. So they basically took last year's rating and then this year's rating. Who had the biggest jump from last year to this year? Do you want to guess?
No, I wouldn't have a clue.
Give me a name. It's a player you've mentioned for reasons that are negative that don't really have to do with football.
Oh, Anthony Gordon.
Yes.
Yeah, but like, again,
he had the biggest jump from one season to the next.
And I give Anthony Gordon credit because Anthony Gordon recognized, I got to get out of here. And he knew that if he went and played under Eddie Howe, he'd be like, better. I didn't think he'd be that good, but he backed himself. Go on.
Yeah, that's the only. Go on. What? Name all 10? I'm not going to name all 10.
Do you want me to name other ones?
I don't have the list in front of me. I just made a note of him.
Right. Okay.
Because he was number one. And by the way, it wasn't really close. So like I had been on this Anthony Gordon apology tour this year. I was wrong about him, but I kind of wasn't also. Like, according to like the who scored ratings and all that, he wasn't amazing. And then this year he found another level and he had a huge improvement.
Again, it shows you the dysfunction at Everton. If a top young player like that sees, I can't flourish here, I can't do this here, and he gets out. So
yeah. I mean, certainly being at Newcastle has definitely helped his growth. But I mean, he was there last year too, though. He didn't play a ton last year, but yeah. Or I mean, he was a January move, so.
Yeah, and I haven't watched that Newcastle documentary yet, but from what I've read and seen, the signing of Anthony Gordon is like this central piece.
Yeah.
For those operating for Saudi Arabia, like they make it like they're. And at the time, I was like, "Are you sure about this?"
Yeah, I felt the same way when I was watching it. That was my takeaway too. I was like, "Wow, they are like all in on this move. Like, are we sure he's that good?" In the end, it's been a pretty good move. Sure. I think no regrets there. All right, JJ. So that's our most improved player. I like that edition of that award. I think that's going to do nicely in the years to come. Let's go now to one of our joint awards where we come to consensus. JJ, the match of the season, April 4th, 2024, Stamford Bridge, Chelsea, Manchester United. Two teams in the midst of a low ebb, desperately trying to find their way back to the level of success they were experiencing not long ago. For two clubs on the outside of contention, games like these may not necessarily have been not the kind of games that can glorify or destroy a season necessarily, but for one afternoon with two of the sport's biggest brands on the field and the atmosphere dialed up, you could have fooled me. JJ, this was Chelsea and Manchester United as heard on NBC.
Welcome back, Stamford Bridge, all set for the main event between two giants that have stumbled. Conor Gallagher, Chelsea lead inside 4 minutes. Taunted as a Manchester City reject, but he's a Chelsea hero, and they lead by 2. It's a mistake, it could be a gift. Garnacho for Manchester United, who are back in business. Hoyland left it, Fernandes in behind him. Manchester United are level. He's looking for Garnacho. Garnacho's there, and that is a terrific breakaway goal by Manchester United. On the outside of Dalot, Madueke was eclipsed. Penalty kick. Cole Palmer levels for Chelsea. Fernandes, seconds ticking away. Cole Palmer deflected it in, and Chelsea have won it with just about the final kick. Wow, 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 wow.
There you go.
Wow.
What a game. What
Wow,
a
and then
ridiculous game that was.
Thanks to Hans Zimmer for writing that score.
I love John Champion's call at the end there. The wow, 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 wow. Like, he's right. I mean, that was when Palmer's ball deflected in at the end there. That was everybody was yelling that.
It was a wonderfully stupid game. And I think, I had no issues with that. It really stood out to me as completely bonkers, but completely enthralling.
Yeah. Hugely fun game. 4-3 Chelsea. That was, part of their revival. In the after party, we'll get more into that when we talk about Poch. But that was April 4th. I mean, that was kind of in the midst of
the revival may have hit the buffers,
and it felt like that they were starting to find it. And I think that it did continue through the remainder of the season. Where it goes now, well, that's another story. I guess we'll find out. So yeah, match of the season, always one of my favorites to look back on some of the great games from the past season. All right, so that kind of takes us now into our intermission, JJ, where we go back and we remind ourselves of the predictions that we made in our EPL preview all those many months ago. So here's our first one. Which newly promoted side will finish the highest? We both agreed, and we both said?
We said Burnley.
Yeah.
And it's because we were kind of wowed by the football they played in the Championship. And what we didn't realize was that was the football they'd play in the Premier League. And while they at times did still play nice football, they got beaten heavily.
Yeah.
And so that's where they've ended up. And of course, now they're relegated. And so the obvious thing to happen is that their manager becomes the manager of Bayern Munich, because that makes complete sense.
It's the natural order of
We'll
things.
talk more about that. It is bonkers. It goes to show the state of I guess it goes to show the state of the managerial merry-go-round in Europe right now. It also goes to show the state of Bayern Munich. And if you're wondering about why Bayern Munich are doing these things right now, such a big club, I would advise you go to last week's podcast where we interviewed we specifically spoke to Jonathan Harding about German football, and he keyed in and gave us the reasons as to why Bayern Munich might be acting, how would you say it, erratically, and this is bloody erratic.
Yeah, so we both said Burnley. We were wrong, but not by much. We were only off by one place. None of them did particularly well. All right, next one that we predicted: club who finished outside the top 4 last season that has the best chance to finish in the top 4 this season. I said Liverpool. You said Chelsea.
Yeah, you were correct.
I was indeed.
I was not.
Let's see. Next one.
Go on.
Manager entering the season on the hottest seat. This is one of those that I don't know that you can really be right or wrong on.
I think I was right about David Moyes.
Yeah, you said David Moyes. I said Sean Dyche. They both performed to a level where if they were on a hot seat, they did enough to cool it. For Moyes, it reignited after he played a lesser squad in the League Cup.
Moyes' job has literally been, he's safe, he's not safe, he's safe. They've had these big wins, these crazy results. And then they've had these crushing defeats. And honestly, Andrew, with 2 months left in the season, he was like, the owners were meeting in secret with other managers. So I'm pretty sure that quantifies as a hot seat.
Let's see. Biggest jump in the table from last year to this year. We both said Chelsea. I think we were right. They went from 12th to 6th. I don't think anybody had a jump more significant than that.
No, a circuitous route, you would say.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't look for a while. It looked like the jump was going to be 12th to 11th.
But Manchester United were very helpful in making sure that that happened.
Let's see. Before the season, we spoke about the player we were most excited about. You said Karu Matoma, which I think people would have agreed.
Yeah.
I think everyone felt that way about him, but injuries completely submarined his season.
Not good.
Didn't really see him. You also had a couple honorable mentions. You said also from Brighton, Adingra. You said Mykhailo Mudryk as well.
Yeah, I was excited, but I've been a Mudryk stan for a while. And
It's your way of lashing out against the metrics and statistics community.
Well, yeah, because I looked at him, and again, I saw him fleetingly, and a lot of it was against Celtic in the Champions League for Dinamo Kiev, and that's not gonna cut it.
You said Szoboszlai as well.
Szoboszlai was erratic. Started the season real strong and then faded. And Adingra, for a young player coming into the league, has done well. So, done well in a bad team, I guess.
Yeah, but he's been very good. For me, the player I was most excited about, I mean, you can just see when I find these guys and that's it. I'm so loyal.
Oh, Andrew's people.
Eze. I said Eze before the season, and I love myself. I want to go back in time, and I want to hug and kiss myself for having said that because I was so right. He's just
you are receiving therapy for that predilection.
Let's see. We made our prediction for the best transfer. Remember, the window was still open for a few more weeks after we did this, so like Cole Palmer hadn't happened yet. But you and I both said the same thing. And we had a couple honorable mentions, but we both said Alexis McAllister, which I think pretty good.
My other honorable mention was Moussa Diaby, which I stand by. That worked out well. Nicholas Jackson.
Yeah, how about that?
Extreme Borat voice, not so much.
My honorable mentions were James Madison, Pau Torres, and Mateo Kovacic. Kovacic wasn't really a huge factor for them. Let's see. How many true title contenders do you see? We both had the same answer. 1.
And we were correct.
Kind of.
Sort of.
I mean, again,
but we'll get to that. I don't want to stand on stuff we're about to do. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. That's the answer to that for last season because I have a bit of context for that.
Okay. Arsenal were a contender. The answer was really 2, maybe even 3. Liverpool were in it for a while. JJ, I was so impressed with you on this one. So we always do our baseless prediction that you're afraid might be terrible.
Yeah, well.
Yours was not terrible.
No.
You had your baseless prediction was Manchester United will have a terrible season with Andre Onana being particularly poor and Brighton will fall off. Now, I will say Onana for half the season, I mean, you looked like a flat out soothsayer. Onana did rebound and actually wound up having a pretty good season.
Yeah.
But United having a terrible season, Brighton falling off. I mean, you effing nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in tune with the rhythms of the game when I'm right. And then when I'm wrong, it's not my fault.
Right. Something's happened. The game has in some way been disturbed by some other force. Mine, JJ, I really believed in this one. Mine was that Roberto De Zerbi will get into some sort of physical confrontation with someone else this season. To the best of my knowledge, that did not happen.
I mean, the physical confrontation he got into was possibly playing his best young striker with a hurt ankle for a lot of the season. That was the physical confrontation with Evan Ferguson suddenly appearing out of nowhere with a massive cast on his foot with like a week left in the season. So,
yeah, I was picturing De Zerbi being involved in some kind of Conte Tuchel handshake.
100%, and that could still happen. That's nailed on for somewhere next season. That could still happen.
Yeah. Let's see. Which player needs to have a big season? I think these were both good answers. You said Rasmus Højlund. I said Antony. Antony did. I mean, he needed to have it. I was right in that he needed to have a big season, and his failure to do so, because my whole logic was essentially, I'm not going to judge you after your first season, but year 2, it's time. From a bad first season, he regressed.
Yes.
So, I mean, we can brand that now as a disastrous signing.
He is right now a terrible footballer in terms of top flight footballers.
Manager of the year prediction. I said Unai Emery, who
nailed it.
Was very good. You said Roberto De Zerbi.
Nailed it for about 3 months. And then,
I guess.
and then the fall off. Oh, yeah.
So here we go. Top scorer.
Mm,
So I literally nailed it. Erling Haaland was mine. By the way, get used to that. That will probably be my answer for like the next 6 years.
great. That's a reason for people to tune in.
JJ, your answer was Harry Kane.
Yeah, because
And
I
I
didn't
don't
think he was gonna go.
but you were so even I went back and re-listened and you were wrong then. Like I remember I said to you like, but he's gonna leave. Like,
Look, he
no,
was
I
he was
don't think
top
he
scorer,
is.
but
We
not in the
all
league.
knew.
He was top scorer in a different league.
Always has an answer.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I can make up for that here. My player of the year, I've said it many times. I don't know. I said Jack Grealish. I'd do it
You
again.
fool.
I would do it again. He was one of the most important players on that
Oh God.
side.
You can keep saying that as much as you want. He
There
hardly
wasn't
played
any
this season.
I know, but there wasn't anything noticeable from the season before other than him going on like a 3-week bender after they
Yeah.
won the title. There was
Yeah.
nothing that told you like, oh yeah, that guy who was just like who we think of as one of the best players in England, who just was a massive part of this treble winning team. Yeah, he's not going to play next year and he'll be healthy for most of it. Like who saw that coming?
All right.
You said Martin Odegaard. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Top 4 in order.
This wasn't bad.
From 4th to 1st, I had Manchester United, Arsenal, Man United, Arsenal 3rd, Liverpool 2nd, Man City 1st. Yours?
Was Man United 4th, Liverpool 3rd, Arsenal 2nd, City 1st. So I was right about the top 3.
Yeah.
And again, we deserve a lot of criticism for how we gassed up United, even though the signs last. We totally overrated the Carabao Cup, totally overrated their league form. Didn't realize that they went into a pretty poor spell after they won the Carabao Cup. Immediately after, they lost 7-0, and we thought we should have read way more into that, but we didn't.
I guess so. Yeah, that was sorry, everyone. That was a swing and a miss. Relegation. We both went. We both had the exact same. We both went 2 for 3. We both had Luton, Sheffield United, and Everton. So yeah, there you go. And for what we were personally most excited about this
I love
season,
this.
I mean,
Guys,
you wrote a literal poem.
I did. It was nice though. People
about
enjoyed it.
About football being back. That was your
that was
whole
it.
thing.
That's I mean, what do you want me to say? It's the truth.
Oh, but it's such a we're all excited about that. I mean, come on.
You got excited about Americans.
Yeah.
And let me see how many of them really did great.
So Matt Turner, not good. Chris Richards, enormous, huge success.
Yes.
Tim Ream, Anthony Robinson, huge success.
Yeah, go on.
Had a fantastic year. Austin Trusty, no, didn't have. I mean, it's literally the worst defense in the history of the Premier League.
Lord, wait for the next one.
And my honorable mention, what I was excited about was with Tottenham for Bentancur to get healthy and Tottenham's midfield as a whole. I thought it was going to be the best midfield that I had seen from them since the Eriksen, Musa Dembele, since several years ago. And Bentancur, maybe he started to get healthy, and then what happened, JJ? Matty Cash comes flying in, injures him.
Tottenham killer.
Yeah.
He's torp. Remember what good form Matt Doherty was in towards the end of last season under Conte, or the season before? Just gets smashed by Matty Cash.
So there you go. Those were our predictions. I think they're pretty good. I mean, yeah, there's definitely some misses in there, but
listen, we've had way worse years than that. And predictions are a mess. They're always a mess. I'm excited for the second half of this.
Well, let's get right into it. Let's go right back in. So that was stuff that we thought before the season. Now let's look back on the season. We continue here with our awards on this year's Devundlings. Biggest disappointment of the season. What's yours?
I went for a date because things were going nicely. Things were bloody interesting. But Sunday, April 14th, 2024, Liverpool 0, Crystal Palace 1, Arsenal 0, Aston Villa 2. Arsenal had taken 31 from a possible 33 Premier League points in 2024 prior to Villa showing up at the Emirates. Liverpool had not lost in any competition at Anfield for 14 months prior to the rout that week in against Atalanta in the Europa League. And then They had their first Premier League defeat since October 2022. What a time for both sides to have a wobble. And from that moment on, the sheer disappointment of that, I'll never forget it, of that Sunday. The cold, grim realization that the league is now over. And it was not just over, it was spectacularly over.
My biggest disappointment of the season were the 3 promoted clubs. What goes up must come down immediately. Immediately. For the first time since the 97-98 season, all 3 promoted teams were also the 3 relegated teams. Burnley, huge disappointment from a team that crossed the 100-point threshold in the championship. I mean, Sheffield United, when people say like, oh, that's a championship team playing in the Premier League. When people say that, you think, okay, well, what does that really mean? Well, this is what it means. Obviously, for one, it means allowing 104 goals. But like on a week-to-week basis, when you say that's a championship team, they don't belong here. You know, what that looks like is 2 games against Newcastle, losing by an aggregate of 13-1. 2 losses to Arsenal by scores of 5-0 and 6-0. They lost 5-0 to Burnley, 5-0 to Villa, 5-0 to Brighton. I mean, it felt like it was every week. They're getting absolute, like they so clearly didn't belong. My trivia question, JJ, for you. They won 3 games this year. Who were those 3 poor souls that they beat?
United. They beat Luton.
Yeah, that's one.
That was a shock because it was a comeback. They beat. They drew with Everton. They drew with West Ham. They beat Crystal Palace.
No.
Oh,
how dare you say that about Crystal Palace?
Go on. Sorry.
They beat Brentford and they beat Wolves. Yeah. Now, I don't come down quite as hard on Luton because they were at least fun and they pushed a lot of quality teams right to the limit.
No,
like
they could have had the game of the season, the 5-4 against Arsenal.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm not quite as hard on them. However, they finished with 26 points. There's no year where 26 points would have been enough to stay up. In fact, I went back and looked, JJ, in the Premier League era, 16 times 26 points would have been low enough to finish bottom of the table.
Yeah.
So even this team that I'm like, nah, I'm still going to give them credit. They were still terrible. So yeah, the promoted teams, I mean,
they just
really
gave you something though. Luton gave you something. They gave you like redemption arcs for players you thought were finished as Premier League players. They gave you some exciting players, like quick players like Chidozie Ogbene, gave you some really good defenders, but ultimately just not enough.
Well, let's
did you know to get into the ground you have to go through a garden?
Wait, like someone's backyard?
Yeah, someone's backyard. You have to go through it. Yeah. But
in
you
the
go
Premier
above
League?
it. Yeah, in the Premier League. Yeah. There's lots of houses around the ground.
No, that can't be.
Yeah, no, houses. Amazing.
Where did you see this?
Oh, I saw it on lots of niche websites, repeated and repeated and repeated.
Let's see. So let's go right from that, JJ, talking about Luton there and the redemption arc specifically into the biggest surprise of the season. I'll go first because mine was Ross Barkley, because it looked like his career was in the midst of a slow fade out to, hey, remember Ross Barkley territory. 2 years ago, he started 1 game for Chelsea. Last year, he started 9 games for Nice in Ligue 1. Like, that's where Ross Barkley was.
I saw one of them. He was good, though.
Well, 9. He started 9 times in Ligue 1. But this year, Luton Town decided to throw him a lifeline, and sure enough, Barkley responded. Played some of his best football in years. 5 goals, 4 assists. Just last week, he was named as the fans' player of the season. Now it looks like he might have given his career a new lease on life. There's reports that Champions League-bound Aston Villa are planning to sign him this summer.
Re-sign him? You mean he was on loan?
Well,
there,
yeah. But he'll play for Aston Villa potentially. Potentially, it's transfer rumors, so we're never sure until we see the tweet. But that's what they're saying. And that Ross Barkley, who again one start at Chelsea, 9 in Ligue 1 with Nice. Next year in the Champions League, he'll be playing. I mean, incredible stuff. If it was a career revival that you saw coming when he signed at Luton on a free transfer, you're a better man than I. That is why he is my surprise of the season.
And let's all sagely nod as to why should never have gone to Chelsea. Add him to the Steve Sidwell Hall of Fame.
Right there next to Danny Drinkwater.
Yep. Sidwell, Drinkwater, Shevchenko. My surprise of the season is Ollie Watkins, assists machine.
Hmm.
Considering the trends of recent years, Andrew, and the dominance of fullbacks, two of them on Merseyside, assisting with big numbers, to see an orthodox centre forward grab 13 assists, along with his 19 goals, very surprising to me. And he looks as if he is in prime position to be, in terms of like an out-and-out centre forward. He has jumped the queue ahead of quite a few players, including Marcus Rashford, to be an option outside of Sir Harold of Kane.
Yeah, Marcus Rashford found that out to the extreme.
Yeah.
He gone.
He gone.
He gone. Surprise of the season, Ollie Watkins. Interesting. I mean,
No, the assists.
Oh.
13 assists? I did not see that coming. Didn't see
Yeah,
it
that's
coming.
fair. That's fair. All right. So that takes us, JJ, into our next award. Another one that I absolutely love. One of my favorites. Goal of the season. You know, a lot of awards are going to be handed out tonight and have been handed out tonight, but I don't know if any of them carry the sort of consensus that this one did. The season hadn't yet reached its halfway point, and Manchester United were already starting to feel things slipping away. They had just been defeated by FC Copenhagen in Europe. They were off to a poor start in the league. They needed something, anything, to get them going. Well, in the 3rd minute at Goodison Park on November 26th, they got it. This is your goal of the season. I know we debate all the time, what's your favorite type of goal? Is it the mazy run? Is it the blast from 30 yards out? Whatever we think, we can all agree, we can all have common ground on goals like this.
Rashford face to face with Mikalenko. Dalot joining in from fullback. Dalot for Garnacho! Oh wow! Oh wow!
It was utterly stunning. It's a Manchester United goal, but it gave me the horn.
That is one of the great goals! Special beyond special!
If we get a better goal this year than what Garnacho gave us in this game, then I will weep. I will cry. I'll come on this podcast and I'll continue to cry because it will be such a revelation of a moment.
That is world class. Absolutely world class. VAR in my ear checking something. Don't you dare disallow this.
This is the goal of the season. I don't think you can top it. Just a ridiculous goal. Weep.
Yeah.
I said I'd weep. And
I'm
I didn't
happy.
have to because there wasn't a better one.
And we don't enjoy consensus on this podcast, but in this case, we're quite comfortable with it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I know you. I know it's what makes you very good at this is that there's a gene in you, a contrarian gene. And so after Garnacho scored it, I was kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe what I just saw. And I was gearing up for a fight. I was like, I know he's going to show up on Monday and he's going to pick some hole in this. He's going to tell me why it was. But
Right.
no, even you were in lockstep. Couldn't believe what you just saw.
I even went as far as to say why it was better than Rooney's against
Yeah.
Manchester City. And
Yeah.
I think I proved it well.
You sure did. You sold me. So yeah, I mean Garnacho, it's an all-time Premier League great goal. You'll see highlights of that one for the rest of time. Just fantastic stuff. He had a nice, for a team that, obviously underachieved, we had him in 4th and didn't get anywhere close to that. It was their worst season in the Premier League in terms of where they finished. He, I would say, was one of the bright spots, Garnacho.
I think it's just his effort. The fact that he never gave up, endless running, endless enthusiasm in a team that's struggling to get any kind of coherent pattern of play that can make up for a multitude of flaws. And he was good in that regard. Just would say, if you don't like consensus, at CO Soccer Pod on X, Twitter, leave us your goal of the season. Let us know. Because I know some people are going to say McAllister against Fulham. I think
Better
that's
than
going
the
to...
Garnacho.
No, but it's a different type.
Who's going to say that?
There's bound to be someone out there. Guarantee you. I don't agree with them, but there's people out there. So let us know at CO Soccer Pod on X, Twitter, Caught Offside Pod on Instagram, caughtoffsidepod@gmail.com. Go for it.
Moment of the season.
Oh,
JJ.
well, we're in consensus on this one, I'm afraid.
Oh no, really?
Yep.
For me, it was Klopp's announcement that he's going to be leaving after the season.
I mean, I can't walk away from that one. It's just true.
We did one emergency pod all season, and that was it, right?
That was it. And I mean, that was What an emergency. We parsed through it. Again, available. Go back to Spotify, go back to iTunes. You can see it. And listen to it.
Yeah, that one I actually,
it bowled
that
me
one's on
over.
YouTube if you wanted
Yeah.
to watch it. I put
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
thing up.
It bowled. Oh, brilliant. It just completely stunned me, and I'm still recovering from it. Like, they announced Arnie Slot today, and I just responded, "Not now, guys. We're still
I mean,
still in mourning. Take your time." He officially takes over June 1st, but yeah, just the shock of it, because as much as we thought this Liverpool team is in a title race, it may not be perfect. There's a rebuild going on in the midfield. We thought Klopp would be there another season, definitely another season.
yeah.
And for him to say he was tired, he couldn't do it anymore, was genuinely stunning. I've debated, one of the key debates of the weekend, actually, over pints, was timing. Was it the right time? How will we look back at this? There was one guy in Liverpool convinced it could have been kept from the players, it could have been kept from the media, and that he could have done it at the end of the season, and is convinced that it definitely added to the fatigue and the sense of tiredness that crept into Liverpool's play. But who knows? Liverpool were flawed. Liverpool did go behind a lot of times. I would say, though, there is no way the manager, especially that manager, saying he was going to leave, didn't affect some players. There you go.
Yeah.
Huge moment.
My biggest memory of that day from his press conference, it was a press conference that seemed almost oddly unemotional for a man who has, like, throughout his whole career, embodied the philosophy of embracing emotion.
Yeah.
Like, it just made me think, like, wow, he really is done.
Yeah.
Like, he was just so matter of fact and, like I said, unemotional about it.
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like
he seems truly, it's not that he's not, like, sad, I'm sure, about leaving this club, but he seems really excited to move into the next phase of his life.
To be a normal guy. He keeps repeating this thing about, he said it at the weekend at Anfield. I'm going to be one of you now. He's going to get to have a pint. He's going to get to go to the game.
Is he going to continue to live in that area?
No, I don't think so. He's built a house in Germany, and he keeps every little trinket he's been sent. Goodbye trinket. He's talking about, this will go in my trophy cabinet. I never thought I'd need a trophy cabinet, but this is going in it. So he's done with football for a while. I definitely think so.
He'd be a great pundit. He'd be a great analyst.
Fantastic. I don't want to go through it again, but he built a club in Mainz 05. He rebuilt, or helped to rebuild, Borussia Dortmund into a title-winning team, and he rebuilt Liverpool in his own image.
Mm-hmm.
And those are jobs beyond coaching. They are just huge jobs. So I really want to see him with a frosty Erdinger by a pool somewhere, getting tan. That's what I want for him.
And we should use this moment to let all of you know, JJ, when he was over in Liverpool, created like a bit of an audio diary.
Did you like it?
I did. And so we're going to piece it together. And at some point in the not too distant future, look for that. We'll send it out so you can hear. It was a great interview in there as well with, who was it with again from the Enfield Rap?
Yeah, Neil Atkinson.
That's right.
Who has a book coming out about Jurgen Klopp very soon.
Yeah.
So he's the authority on Liverpool in this era, and he just talks about all angles, about Klopp, and about the future, and also about American fans and what they should expect.
Yeah. So there you go. That was our moment of the season. I wonder, there are probably other ones. I'd be curious. That's one where I'd like to hear from the animals. I'd be curious what some of the other big moments were this season that people would submit for that. All right. Next one, JJ, our best 11, our team of the season. Of all the awards, this one is so hard to me because there's 11 guys that you have to pick, and there's so many more than 11 who are deserving of being in this team. You go first.
First of all, don't text or tweet us. Well, you can for the laugh. I'll never tell you not to interact with us. But, like, if you're going to pick us up, well, that's not balanced. Well, he doesn't really. Is that going to work? It's fictitious. Okay. We're doing our best here. I've gone for a 4-2-3-1. I've gone for Jordan Pickford in goals. Who anybody who knows me would be like, what? But I I I just thought there was some key saves he made down the stretch for Everton. Really, really acrobatic stuff. The kind of stuff that you see him do for England and think, well, he's a very good goalkeeper. I should invest some time watching him. His kicking is so key to what Dyche does. There's so many of the balls is Pickford pinging one to a centre forward. It's a very direct way that Everton go back to front, and Pickford is key to that. But his kickings, I've always thought was decent. I'm not sure he's a great goalkeeper, but I think he was very good down the stretch, and I just thought I'd reward him by being in my squad. I'll start with my two centre backs then. Saliba from Arsenal, I thought was brilliant all season. And coming in a pinch after Joel Matip's injury and having to play a lot of football, and now going to be in an England squad again. Well, a provisional England squad. Jarell Kwanzaa. I thought Kwanzaa, yeah, absolutely fantastic for a young player to come in like that and propel himself with his performances into an England squad.
This is almost Cambiaso-esque.
How is it?
They're so, I don't know. I just feel like there were so many really good center backs this year, and he wouldn't have been in my, I don't know, top 5, 10. I'm
Gareth
stunned.
disagrees with you, and so does Jurgen Klopp. So
I'm stunned.
Going to take them. My fullbacks on the right hand side. I know it's orthodox, but like to be doing what he's doing at 33, and for all the abuse he takes from Pep Guardiola, Kyle Walker.
Oh, no problem with that.
And on the left-hand side, so impressed with him. I know Tottenham had their fall away, but Destiny Udogie I really enjoyed watching him play. My two midfielders, one is going to get forward, one's going to hold. Declan Rice. Look, you come in with that price tag and play that well.
He's coming.
You got to be in the team. Declan Rice is there, the traitor. And Alexis McAllister has been brilliant, asked to play further back the field and then asked to play further up the field. When Watari Endo was signed, he's done it all. I think he's been really, really good.
Love him.
My three that play in behind the centre forward, a little bit of a mess, but probably two players that play in the same position, but it's floating. Martin Odegaard is the number 10 there, the out and out, like the sitting in behind centre forward, and he's flanked either side interchangeably with Michael Elise and Cole Palmer. And then up front, I wanted a traditional centre forward who bangs in the goals, but who's also technically so bloody good for a big man. And that's Alexander Isak of Saudi Arabia FC. And that is the team. What do you think? You hate it.
I have some issues. Mine is kind of like a 4-1-4-1. In my goalkeeper, this was a year where I don't think there was a clear-cut answer for goalkeeper. So I'm fine with your Pickford one, and I went with Jose Sa.
Yeah.
Wild turnaround from one season to the next for Sa. You know me, JJ. You know that post-shot XG plus minus is probably it's become the statistic that I cling to when I'm judging goalkeepers.
What is the measure of a goalkeeper?
So
it is a big metric.
Sa was a minus 5.6 in that category last year. Disastrously bad. One of the 3 or 4 worst of like every keeper. It was like 37 keepers that played. He was like 34th for keepers that qualified. He was one of the worst in the league. And this year he was a plus 8.9, the best in the league by far. Just an incredible, a wild turnaround. Top 5 in save percentage, which is made all the more impressive by the fact that only 4 keepers faced more shots on target than him. So he was seeing an inordinate number of shots, and his save percentage was still that high. 6th best crosses stopped percentage, and 2 of the guys ahead of him were Matt Turner and Robert Sanchez, who started less than half of their team's games, so those numbers are kind of skewed. So he's kind of top 4 there. So yeah, Jose Sa. I know he had a couple errors leading to goals. I think he had 3 errors leading to goals, which is not great, but
he made a couple of great saves at the weekend, I think so. Yeah.
My back line defensively, Ben White and Josko Gvardiol were my fullbacks. Gvardiol, probably a late addition. I would say his last 2 months influenced greatly.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about that now.
Well, I guess what I do, okay? My center backs, I also had Saliba, and then I also went with the Liverpool center back, but it wasn't Kwanzaa. It was Virgil van Dijk.
Okay.
He's just old faithful, reliable. He'll be in there probably for as long as he's playing. My midfield, JJ, that in that kind of shield, Rodri has to be on this team.
Okay.
A team of the season without him is disqualified as far as I'm concerned.
Wow, straight.
And then the four in front of him, Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, and Martin Odegaard. And then up front, this was tough. This was tough. I went Ollie Watkins up front, 19 goals, 13 assists. You've said it before. Where would Villa? I mean, are they qualifying for Champions League without 19 goals and 13 assists from that guy? I don't think so. So yeah, that's my team. I love that team. I think that's an awesome team. I have a bench because I just need to at least acknowledge some others. My backup goalkeeper was Emi Martinez, Declan Rice, Holland, Isak, Mickey Van de Ven, who was, I think, definitely Spurs player of the season.
Yeah.
Elise and Eze were in there. Gabriel, also from Arsenal. Nathan Ake, Akanji, McAllister, Anthony Gordon. That's a team right there.
Yeah, I like my team. I'm going to get crushed I just realized I have only one Man City player in there. Oh, well.
So predictable. And then finally, JJ.
Wait, hang on. The XG philosophy, they tweeted this out and it's just haunting me. Best attacks this season and brackets most XG created. Number 1, Liverpool, 95.70 XG. Back at number 2, Man City, 87.05 XG. And Newcastle in third, 85.27 XG. Oh, God.
Your point being what?
No, it's just another one of those stats where you're like, kind of could have left one on the table there technically, but
yeah. Who, Liverpool?
Yeah, it's the collapse towards the end of the season is still rankles.
I see that.
But then again, you're an imperfect side if you're creating 95.70 XG and so clearly flawed in your defensive transition. So there we go.
All right. This brings us to our final award of the evening, the Esteban Cambiaso Player of the Season Award. JJ, would you like to go first?
Yeah, it's very simple for me. I got this so wrong in the previews because I was so unimpressed by this. 60 million seemed like a lot for a child, young player who'd been let go by Pep Guardiola, and straight away you're like, oh, well, Pep knows something, and he literally walks into the Chelsea team and puts it on his back to the point where by the end of the season people are calling it Cole Palmer FC. He's been brilliant to watch. I do think he has a haircut like a 13th century monk. But a 13th century monk who can pick a pass, cut open a defense, and finish a goal. 22 goals, 11 assists. Just a brilliant signing, brilliant season in a team that really struggled. And that's how he stands out. Cole Palmer for me.
For mine, JJ, I mean, I actually said this on previous weeks, so there's not a whole lot of drama here. Phil Foden, 19 goals, 8 assists. You know me by now. You know I have different tenets that I stand on. I think, the Panenka thing, the in-swingers thing, an emerging one for me when judging players, I value 19 goals being scored with none of them, 0 coming from the penalty spot.
You do really value that.
I value that. I just do. Goals from open play means more. It just means more to me. Which kind of hurt Cole Palmer, in my opinion, a little, because so many of his goals, what was it, half of them, I think, were penalties. Foden, he also crushed the rest of the league in goals minus XG, which tells you he scored 19 goals and they weren't tap-ins. These were high degree of difficulty goals that were being scored. Outside the box, tough goals. He was who scored's man of the match more times than any other player in the Premier League this season. Not the easiest thing to do on a team with Haaland, De Bruyne, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, etc. And it's not just that he scored goals; he scored big goals. In total, he scored 3 versus United in the derby, 3 versus Villa, scored in the round of 16, and in the quarterfinals against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Scored 3 goals in City's last 3 games of the season, obviously including 2 on that final day. As the games got bigger, his impact became greater. He started the season, he only had 1 goal through the first 9 games of the season for City, but from the beginning of March to the end of the season, when things ratcheted up, he had 10. He's a big-time player. He's 23 years old, and he's won the Premier League 6 times at 23. His production's gone up every year. It'll be fascinating to see where it goes from here for both club and country. He's kind of, him him and Bellingham and Kane on that England team. I can't wait to see it. I'm fascinated by it. But Phil Foden, I can sleep easy at night with this pick. I feel good about it. He is my Cambiaso Player of the Season award winner. So there you go, JJ.
That was fun. I enjoyed that. That was good.
Yeah.
That was a good award show.
And we put it to bed now. That's it. That the season, that's it.
Let's speak of it no more.
Never again. Never again. Yeah. Like JJ said, and like we've said throughout the show, let us know your thoughts as well. Maybe should we tweet out polls, JJ? We've never done that where we just maybe we tweet out like each award, who I had, who you had, and then who people would have taken, and leave a spot for other.
Sounds like work, Andrew. We can just get people to leave their opinions.
We all know how you feel about doing work.
I work very hard.
Not in favor of it.
No, I work very hard, but that sounds like busy work.
Maybe I'll do it.
Yeah, it's got your name all over it.
Maybe I'll do it. So yeah, there you go. That's this year's Devundling Award Spectacular. We'll go ahead. We'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side with the after party. There's a lot to get to. People are already mingling back there. They're talking about Leverkusen. They're talking about Poch. They're talking about Vincent Company. It's all happening.
Oh, Todd Bowley's walked in. Ugh.
Awkward. Keep him and Maurizio away from one another. JJ, more caught offside still to come.